Good evening, everyone,
Good evening, good evening.
and welcome to the Intimacy Chronicles. I'm not sure how long we will be out here recording because I think it's going to rain, and but we're just going to go with it until the rain comes.
Till the rain comes.
Joining me is my co-host.
Richard, aka the Quiet Storm, my alter ego.
Now he's trying to be all proper, you know.
Hello.
Dr. Love will not be joining us tonight. Tonight's topic, I'm going to have a guest co-host, by the way. One of the young men here at Corinthians on the patio wants to be a co-host, so he has a lot to say, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. Tonight's topic is going to be love. What are you seeking, and are you capable of giving the same love that you're seeking? What I find to be a lot of times is people say they're looking for love, but I don't know if they're capable of giving the love that they're looking for, or if they really know what love is. Let me just tell everyone, we're here at Corinthians Restaurant and Lounge, 7107 Windsor Mill Road, Windsor Mill, Maryland, 21244. And I've already gotten started with Devin's specialty, the tropical Long Island. Oh my God, so I think I'm going to be really loud.
So it's long on the island.
It's long on the island.
Short on the iced tea.
The flashes are flowing. And I only had a sip. So I already know what kind of night it's going to be, and I'm ready. So on that note, cheers. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Moonin. Thanks for joining us. And so I'm ready to get this show started. We're not going to have the music tonight because, like I said, I think it's going to be a storm, and I don't want to take a chance on the equipment being messed up.
Yeah, we're going to be out here as long as we can.
As long as the weather allows us. So I'm hoping that the storm holds off until maybe about an hour and a half. I got a lot to say, so other people seem to have a lot to say. So let's get this started. When you were single, were you looking for love? And if so, did you have an idea on what you were looking for?
Yes, I did. After some trial and error, you go through your stages where you're trying to find the right person, and you try to. At some point, you have an idea what you don't want. And so when I was ready to settle down, I pretty much knew what I wanted. And the thing about it, I wasn't particular in a sense. First of all, one thing I wanted was a good PA system. But the thing about it is, what I wanted, it wasn't that many things that I wanted.
Hey, baby.
Hi.
Hey. Hey. Cheer up.
But to answer your question, I definitely knew what I wanted when I was ready to settle down.
I think I didn't know what I wanted. I think for me, I wasn't sure of what I wanted. I think that I kind of was all over the place with regards to love. I had an idea of what I thought love was, but it was so different than what I expected. You know what I'm saying?
So you're talking about what stage of life were you talking about? You're talking about your wild, your young wild days?
I was still, what was the song? Born Wild, Running Free. I was still in that mode. And I wasn't looking, but love came to me. And so I think at that time, prior to that, I was in a relationship with my best friend. So we were so immature. And if we were riding down the street, he'd be looking out one window, and I'm looking out the other window, talking about hello. But we were friends, so we were able to do that with one another. And I might have said, God damn, he is fine as hell. I might want Well, you know.
So it
We
was
had I said we had an open relationship because we were best friends.
okay, and there wasn't that much insecurity.
No, because we talked about everything. I mean, honestly, I'd have to say if he was still living, I probably would have married him because we just, when I said we could talk about everything, everything, it was like no holds barred, nothing was off limits.
That's
But,
refreshing.
however, in looking at it now, that wasn't a healthy relationship in some regards. So the person that I am now, I think that when I look back at that, I was in a different place. I'm still wild, but wild within reason.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So would that relationship with that person, would that work now? You saying that it wouldn't?
I think we both would have been on the same level
Okay.
because we're older now. You know what I'm saying? We're now 50s, man. Ain't nobody trying to really be out there like that.
Okay.
You know what I think is interesting? I've heard a couple of times this week somebody said, "Oh yeah, they're older." I'm like, "How old?" And they said 50 something. I'm like, "Damn, am I in that roster now where they say old? Old is 50. I think old is 70. But I guess it's easy for me to feel that way because I'm in my 50s. You know what I'm saying? But the way I see love now is so different than when I got married. I think the way that I see love, and I think a lot of us probably don't think about this, it's not just about that physical attraction. It is the need to connect with somebody on a spiritual level. I wasn't there, you know, when I first fell in love. I think that I had no idea on what it was all about. My needs now are different than what my needs were 20-something years ago. What I need now, I need that spiritual connection. You know, I can fuck anybody, you know what I'm saying? But I need more than that.
But it's funny because this was your best friend, so it sounded like y'all had the perfect kind of chemistry,
really
and so y'all wasn't on that spiritual
and I
level.
had a son by him, and that's what I'm saying. I had that, but I didn't realize I had that. That was the difference. And like I said, had he lived, we probably would have married. You know, because I never had that with anybody. And even being married as long as I have, we have a connection, but it's different.
Right.
Yeah, it's different.
And that's what a lot of times when people don't realize that it's different kinds of love.
It is.
And it's not that one is better than the other.
Right.
You know, sometimes you have that comfortable, stable
It's
kind of
comfort,
love,
exactly,
exactly. And then you have that butterflies in your stomach kind of love too,
Yeah.
which it probably eventually turns into that comfortable kind of love.
And I think comfort, when you think of comfort, I don't think love should be comfortable. I think for me, comfort bores the hell out of me. You know, I think that love should always evolve.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think a boring relationship is a good, happy relationship when you don't got no drama,
I'm not
you know.
looking for drama. When I say comfort, I think that people shouldn't get complacent because you're in a relationship for a long time. I think some of the things that you did to get that person that you should continue to do.
Yeah.
And so when I say comfort is boring to me, when you stop doing certain things, my mind wanders. I begin to look at everything as a whole and wonder if it could be fixed. You know what I'm saying? I think comfort is not a bad thing, but I think that individuals should always evolve. So that's my take on it. I know y'all don't want to hear me talk the whole damn show, so I'm gonna ask, how you doing? What's your name? Jeanette. Jeanette, thanks for joining us, Jeanette. So our topic tonight is love. What type of love are you seeking, and are you capable of giving the love that you're seeking?
Well, I'm married, happily married.
Okay.
6 years to a woman.
Okay. And so, I love it. So tell me about that.
Okay.
Do you want to be on camera? Or?
I mean, it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Can you give her the microphone?
Oh, Lord. Let me take the mic tag.
Yeah, girl, you on mic.
Should I sit right here?
Yeah, you're fine.
That's too much light.
Is it hot?
Hello. So my name is Jeanette, and I'm married, happily married to a female.
Okay.
I was married once, had two great children. Grew up in a Christian home where homosexuality is frowned upon. And when I met her, I asked God, why did you bring us home to me?
Okay.
And I really tried to pull away from her, and it was just so backhanded that I just couldn't.
Right.
I really talked to him and just said, why? And I don't know if it wasn't listening, but I just didn't get any reasons not to.
Okay.
And we got married, and I've been happy ever since.
Now, let me ask you. You can pull a chair over here.
Yes, because he brought me out here.
Okay, because he's going to be our co-host tonight. That's why. But, I have a lot of questions because women are so nurturing.
Oh, here we go.
And so, now he's ready to get started. But with that being said, do you find that it's a deeper spiritual connection?
It actually is.
Yeah.
It really is. And I'm going to be honest with you, it is all about the connection. I've been men all my life. And actually, I was engaged to a man.
Okay.
I met her. But I was never the submissive type. In the Bible they say, women be submissive to their husbands. And I never was. I always fought that.
Okay.
But for some reason with her, not saying that I've never lost myself, but I've always wanted to give and to be free. And it is the connection because we feel so deep.
Exactly.
You automatically know what she's thinking. I automatically know what she's thinking. She knows what I'm thinking, how we feel. We can complete each other's sentences.
Okay.
And it's almost like having a girlfriend, but it's still having a partner.
Right.
Like,
and she gets you because of that nurturing. I mean, you both are givers of life, so you have a connection that oftentimes men don't seem to understand.
Don't get me wrong. Let me be clear. We love and respect our black men.
Oh yeah,
we do.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Was this your first female
I've
relationship?
had my sexual encounters. We can say that.
okay,
Experience.
Yeah, right. But never to fully be committed to a female. Because this is the first time. And like I said, I did my thing, cheated, and they say, oh, people cheat because something is going on wrong at home. No, you cheat because you want to.
Yeah.
And this is the first time in my life I've ever been loyal, I've been faithful, and it's a great feeling. And I just find that, and nothing to take away from our black men, but I think that the young men that's growing up today wasn't taught the way the young men in our generation were taught about chivalry, about being mannerable, how to respect a woman.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I
like
agree.
our big mamas
Yeah.
are gone,
I
our great
agree.
grandmamas are gone, so our young men don't know what it's like to open up a door, to take the bags, to be mannerable and to be respectable. And I even find that I'm opening up doors for
Now,
men.
yeah, but you know what? Let me say this because it's not all on the men. I'm going to say, as women, as strong, independent women, we are quick to say, "I need you to hold the door for me. I can do this,
We
and I
say
can
that
do
because
that."
it's happening so much.
But the thing is, I think that we sort of.
That's my wife.
Okay, hey, wife. I think that
Your ears must be ringing.
Get over here. Come over here.
when we do
Butterfuka
that,
over
I
here.
think that
She
we
was
make
talking-
men feel some kind of
She
way.
was talking
And
about
so
you were
from
stars in
one
her life.
experience, from one woman saying, "I don't need you to hold the door," I think it scars them and it puts them in a sense where, well, I don't know whether to open the door or not because of what previous women have said. So us being so independent, we forget that we still need men. So some of that is our fault too.
Right, you're correct.
You
And
know?
I try not to do that. I believe in never degrade a man's ego.
Right, exactly. But some of us haven't learned that. And you can be as independent as you want. But when you go home at night and you're by yourself, what does that independency do for you?
That means
Exactly. I mean, it's okay to be independent. It's okay to embrace your feminine power. But don't shit on our black men in the process of doing that. I think so often we forget that.
Black men are beautiful creatures.
Exactly.
No, and as a bona fide lesbian, I'm not a lesbian because I think men are evil. Men are beautiful creatures. Now, I had my share of wonderful men, so I would never knock that. And I respect my men. And when I was, and that was many moons ago, like 30 years plus, you know, I treated that man as a man. So my sexuality has nothing against men.
Right.
I just happened to fall in love with a woman such as her right there. That was just it.
Which brings me, exactly.
So I'm listening to you, and I don't think it's more so. It's okay. I found a female. You just found the right person.
Right.
You just found the right person, which could have been in the form of a man, but you found the right person.
Well, I think the thing that people, and I say this, I think the thing that people don't understand, when your heart connects to somebody, it doesn't matter male, female, black, white, Chinese, whatever the case may be. It's that heart connection. You know, I think that we put labels on shit. We do. You know, your heart can connect to anyone. It doesn't mean, let's say, for example, for me, you know, if I connected with a woman, it doesn't mean that my whole lifetime experience I've been a lesbian. It's just that in that moment, that is where my heart is drawn. And I think people don't understand that heart connection. It's colorblind. It's gender blind. You know what I'm saying?
The conversation sounds very good.
I know you're ready.
Using a lot of colorful. We're using a lot of colorful words.
Let's go.
But let's talk about who we are as people.
Okay.
And conceptually, the behavior does not belong to us originally. So we've adopted. It's almost like
this. I like this.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
We've adopted the behavior and the thinking of those who captured us.
Yeah.
And we can't deny this. Because the behavior did not exist prior to Africans being brought to this world, or this continent, or this place. Say again? Which behavior are we talking about? We're talking about sexual behavior, because that's the conversation that we're having. So, and I'm not knocking it. I'm not in no way giving a negative opinion about it, but I want to talk about the essence of this. And the essence of this behavior is not of us. The essence of this behavior, the essence of accepting this behavior is not of us. If you've ever read the Meta or the Egyptian Book of the Dead, these are books or the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Codex text. If you ever read any of these writings prior to a Bible ever being in existence, it spoke of these behaviors being an abomination. And abomination doesn't mean bad. It just means against tradition. That's all it means. Against tradition. Right. So I'm not one who subscribes to the modern day thinking of the behavior of our people. I think that we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. We've accepted a lot of things, and we consider them normal when really it's not normal.
Now, when you say that, let me just ask. Okay, let me ask a question because I love this. This is deep. So, but what is normal though? Okay, and let me ask a question because you mentioned the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Yes, ma'am.
But let's be clear because I'm all about numbers. And 80% of Egyptian men are homosexual. They enjoy more sex with men than they do the women that they're married to. Exactly. So, I mean, come on. You're saying it's not normal, but that is a behavior that they enjoy. They don't really enjoy having sex with their women. So if I'm going to go by that book, what that says is that it is acceptable if I'm going to go by that because that is a conflict. You know, and if you think about earlier days, if we're going by the Bible, which has been written so many times.
I'm not speaking about the Bible.
Okay, but
it's a new text.
Right. However, the book, if we want to go by the book itself, homosexuality was around for a long time. And when we say that, it's like to say that, okay, this is okay. Well, you can't tell someone who to love if their heart is drawn to them, be it female or male on male, or black and white, black and Chinese, or whatever the case may be, because I do believe that the spiritual connection is strong. And let's say I'm connected connected to you. Nobody else can tell me how to love you or whether I should be exactly, because it's about here. You know what I'm saying? And if we're gonna go, because I'm big onto energy and twin flames, my twin flame could actually be a woman. You understand what I'm saying? Your twin flame is selected for you before you were born. You understand what I'm saying?
See, I don't subscribe to those
I also
types.
the twin flame. I mean, I understand. And
But I'm not knocking what you're saying. What I'm saying is that, you know, the heart connects. You understand? I believe in people loving who they love with no judging.
but what separates that twin flame from being your homie, your best friend, your best girlfriend, versus taking it to another level?
I mean, but that's what I had. Like I said,
That's
I've
what
been
it
married
is.
before, but I was never happy. I've dated men. I've been engaged to many men. But I was never happy. It was never that commitment. It was never that
didn't feel right.
consideration.
Yeah.
That love. I did me. Forget
Yeah.
how you was feeling.
Yeah.
You know, but then when I met her, I wanted to change. And I wanted to be somebody different. And it feels good. You know, so it wasn't the fact that, oh, I have to be with a woman. It was just the fact that I fell in love with her.
Right.
As I told you earlier, I fought it. Because growing up in a Christian home, going to private schools, we were taught that homosexuality was a sugar. It was a sin. So I'm
And listen, I understand that concept. I really do. I swear to God I do.
You see this? You catching it on camera?
No, because it's not a knock against the lifestyle. It's not a knock against the behavior. It's not a knock against the people, because I love y'all. Trust and believe it. But let's talk about the
I
essence.
just fell in love with y'all, right?
That's I like to talk about.
time we can say so
We got 2 hours.
I love them, man. You just don't understand. They're the most beautiful people on earth. Trust me. When I saw you today, I said, "Where's your wife? What are you doing out here by yourself?" And boop, your head pops up. Because
I
so
never came on to nobody in my whole life.
it's respected, but
And it worked.
It was that energy.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
I think he was out there that day.
Okay.
I walked out the door.
I was there.
All the guys were
I
like,
was
hey,
there.
sure it is.
I was there when you met her.
And she walked by, and someone said, I
Wow.
said, excuse me, miss, can I walk into your car? It's kind of dark out here.
But I like
You
to
was
talk
gonna
about,
protect her.
listen, what made the behavior acceptable? Who introduced the behavior to mainstream society?
Now, that's
See,
a
that's the
great
thing about
question.
it.
What put us in 2017 to say, that is cool, that's okay. So what made it prevalent? Who were the people that primarily indulged in this behavior? No, it's
So
not about
I
us
see
now in
where you're
2017.
going, because they were raping our men. So, and then it began to be acceptable.
That was too dehumanizing.
I want to go back to what you said about the Egyptians.
Yeah.
You said about the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Now the Egyptians you're talking about are not the African Egyptians. We're not talking about the Nubians, because Egypt, which is still in Africa,
It's still in Africa, yeah.
which is still a part of what they call the Middle East, which
Yeah,
is
exactly.
technically Western Asia.
Right.
It was never a Middle East, which was connected by land. So when you say Egyptians of 2017, Arabs, let's be specific.
Yeah,
Those
you're right.
are not the Egyptians.
You're right.
They never called that land Egypt. It was called Kemet
You're right.
by the people who
You're right.
lived there. That continent, that place was called Akibulan. Africa was named Africa because of Africanus, who was a Roman general who ruled North, South, and East Africa. It was named after him. So I guess over time they called it Africa. But the indigenous people of that land never called that Egypt. Never. So when we talk about those kind of subjects, we need to be very specific.
To geographic.
We need to know our history.
Yeah.
We need to know who are the people we're talking about. Not, and no disrespect to European people, Asians, or no one else,
Right.
but we need to know who imposed these names, these boundaries, and these titles on this land, because the indigenous people never called that Egypt. They never called that. It's a fact. Africanus, a Roman general. That's why it's called Africa.
I think people put labels because it's easy to define something.
And even in
that's
today's,
why they-
especially in today's society, you know, it's kind of like, you know, if you like this particular thing, you are labeled for what you like in order to make other people feel comfortable. Well, for me, and it kind of confines you to a box in a sense. I've never lived in a box. That's not my comfort zone. So I don't want a label on me. You know, I feel like I am a free spirit. But if I like something, I'm labeled as, oh, she's a little weird, she's a little crazy, because it makes other people uncomfortable. You know, our society has a way of labeling everything to make it comfortable for them.
They don't always give it a label to make people comfortable, but they give it a label so that others can define what it is that
it may
you
not
are
be,
or what you're doing.
Right.
So you get a label for it, unfortunately. But it doesn't also have to do with lesbians or being gay or bisexual. It's with any, like you said, being a free spirit, being a scientist. So everything has a label to it, so that you're able to define what it
Who's
is.
not guilty of being, labeling people, because as soon as you see someone, you pretty much judge them according to where they look, the way they act. Yeah, so I think it's a natural thing until they prove otherwise. When you see a woman or when you see a man, when you see a woman, when you see a man.
Right.
And I ain't even drinking, right?
Thank God.
Well, then, those conversations exist in 2017 when we're talking about modern times.
Yeah.
But I like to go back to the essence of these conversations. When was it acceptable, and who created this environment?
Homosexuality was acceptable back in the Roman times.
No. We're not gonna.
Before Christ, this been going on for a long time.
Oh my God.
Who were the first people to invade
Caesar.
Africa? Who were the first people to invade? No.
Because you talk about Africa. Africa is a big place.
Correct.
And it's really it's different geographical areas.
Correct. So who were the first European types to invade that continent?
Caucasians.
European types to
Maybe the
invade
Vikings?
that. No. Way forward.
You're
We're
saying
talking
type.
about
What do you mean?
the very first European type of people to invade Africa. Outside of Africa were the Greeks. And we know from history that the Greeks promoted homosexuality
They
and
sure
philosophy.
did, exactly.
That was the emphasis of their culture. And who was after the Greeks? And we're only talking about Egypt.
Yeah, Romans.
The Romans. So the Romans, listen, to be romantic means what? We delve into this during February and Valentine's Day. But what does it really mean to be romantic? Because the word comes from the Romans. So what do you mean when you want to be romantic? That word derives from the relationship between a man and a man. Because you couldn't be a part of the Roman society unless you participated in that. This is a part of their culture. So when we talk about homosexuality, the relationship between women and women, men and men, then we have to talk about the essence of it. Why is it so acceptable today? Not that it's a bad thing,
I think
but
10 years ago it wasn't. I think it's society, man. I really think because a lot of things
It's a revolutionary.
that's acceptable today. Like for instance, interracial dating was not acceptable. And then it changed. I think society changes. And society has its own
are we talking about interracial dating or
I'm talking
interracial
about
intercourse?
behaviors. I'm talking about behaviors.
Interracial behavior.
Yeah, I'm
Because
talking
we
about-
didn't participate in that.
Not necessarily
We weren't the first
interracial,
ones.
I'm talking about behaviors, acceptable behaviors.
Like, let me have sex with another race. We weren't the first ones to
I'm
participate.
talking about, because my point is, what I'm trying to say is, as far as what society accepts and what they don't accept, it really changes with society. Things that was acceptable.
Who is society? Who represents
the
society?
society that we live
Who's
in.
the voice that says this is acceptable and this isn't?
And I'm not talking about
But men seem to dictate what the direction that society goes into. And I've said this many times. For women that are comfortable in their sexuality, men, because men make the rules, seem to view that woman as she's easy.
And technically, and if it wasn't for the European male, women wouldn't have any power in this country.
Yeah.
So the power that women have, specifically black women, would not exist unless it was what? Because of the European male. The only power that exists amongst women in America was given to women by European men. That's a fact.
But they also labeled us when giving us that power. We couldn't be open without comfort in our sexuality.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Because then it began to be we're whores, you know. But these are rules that are, you know, established by, as you say, European men, because they couldn't handle a woman that was empowered with her sexuality. So what I find a lot of time is our men, and when I say our men, I mean black men, judge us based on our comfort with our sexuality. We're hoes, we're bitches, because we are being able
We can't do
to.
what they do. We can't.
Right, and we're not trying to, but we love what we love.
There's
and we're
something
labeled
called
because of it.
acceptable behavior and unacceptable
What's
behavior.
unacceptable behavior?
When it
Is it
pertains to
unacceptable
a
because
black
women are comfortable
woman.
in their sexuality?
Your comfort and your sexuality has nothing to do with me as a black
Right,
man.
But we are labeled
It has to do with
based on the
society
same amount of
has
men.
allowed you to be comfortable with.
Well,
We
at
forget.
the same, no, but
We
at the
forget.
same time, back in the day, women weren't allowed to be comfortable in their sexuality. You were only allowed to really produce. Sex is so much
That's your
more
primary
than
purpose on this
reproduction.
planet Earth.
It is not.
Is
It is
to
so
be-
much
is to
more than
procreate.
that. I think that
That's
men
it.
use that to make us feel insecure
Well, I don't think men
about
did it.
ourselves as women.
Sole purpose is to procreate.
Exactly.
However, yes, as God made us, that is what our job is, to procreate.
You have no other need on earth as a female but to have children.
Need or purpose? 'Cause that's
No.
a purpose.
I think the thing
Then
that
the universe
men
has
miss
dictated
when it
a
comes
bad
to
hand.
women, because you all can't do this, we are the givers of life. We were
Absolutely.
chosen to carry life. And I think with that being said, we
we were
should be
chosen.
held on a higher standard than a lot of men view women. Because you all can't do this.
Well, I mean, that's a fact. I mean,
It's
there
a
was
fact, but I
probably
think that
this is
somewhere
a
along the line there's been a disconnect with
Can't do
us.
it without each other though.
I understand that, but we carry
well. Let's speak.
You understand what I'm
Let's speak.
saying?
Let's speak historically. There was 100,000, maybe 200,000 year period.
Without each other.
Listen,
We're
let's
not
speak
denying
facts.
that. We're not denying
Let's speak
that.
facts.
Okay, let's be facts. I love it.
There was at least 100,000, maybe 150,000 year period. This is factual. That the black woman was the only person on the planet.
And that
The
all
whole
races
story
come
of
from-
Mary in the Bible, the Immaculate Conception. You know who was the first woman to immaculately conceive? The black
Black
woman.
woman, exactly.
She, without having sex, created a man or created a child. This is a fact.
And when
So
you
we.
have,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
When you have these
We need to get you into
discussions,
the studio now.
yeah, when we have these discussions
That's where the
with
story comes from.
Caucasian men, they cannot fathom the idea that all races were born from the black woman.
Fact.
They just
They
don't.
They
cannot.
know
It is
this.
a fact, but
They
they
know
don't want
this.
to acknowledge it.
Right.
That's the
Listen,
thing.
You
Yeah.
listen, it's mathematics.
Yes.
It's not even a personal
Yes.
opinion. It's not what you think. It's not what you believe. It's not what you feel. That's math.
It's it, but they don't see it.
That's math. No, they see it. They know
They
it.
don't want to.
I mean,
Yeah, and
it's
it's not a racial conversation.
Right, I get
not
it.
knock. Listen, I'm not.
to hate us
This
and
ain't about
in the
hate.
same
to love us at the same.
exactly, and you have us breastfeeding your children,
Hello,
but you
raising
hate
your
us.
children, yes.
But we're pumping milk
Into your
babies,
white babies.
Well, listen,
but you hate us.
Statistically speaking, most slave owners had at least 12 illegitimate children.
Yeah,
They were the first men to have illegitimate children.
Mm-hmm.
And what did they do to those illegitimate children, those mixed children
They made
that they
them sick.
fathered?
Mm-hmm.
That European woman was a slave way before we were.
true.
My father always told me, the white woman and the black man have a lot in common. And I never understood what he meant when he said that.
So
But now I do.
Get back to the society. Getting back to the, getting back to what you were saying about who dictates or who dictates what's accepted. It's really the Caucasian male. You know, it's what's accepted, what's not accepted. It's really the Caucasian male. It's not necessarily males in general. It's that's the way it's been. And like I said, I think over time, what's accepted and what's not accepted changes. It changes with the mass of the people. You know, it slowly does.
What's your name, by
You
the
know
way?
what? My name is my name. But I like to put things into perspective historically. Because, you know, a lot of times we say, oh, the Caucasian male, the Caucasian male, the Caucasian male. Half of human history was over before African knew a European was in the world. And if you put that in context, do you know how much time has passed before an African knew that a European existed? That says a lot.
So I retract that. I wouldn't say Caucasian male. I'm just going to say male.
Because listen, we mix it up a lot of times, and we say, oh, the Egyptians, oh, the Romans, but these people were not European. They were Mediterranean people. Those places are right on the equator. Dark-skinned, bronze people. The European is, you know, you hear this story, oh, the Europeans came from blacks. Man, the Europeans came from the people that came, 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 and enough people that came from the African. Way down the line. You know where they get the name Caucasian from? Right, but you know that it was a European man that went to Jordan, Turkey, which is in southern Turkey, the Caucasus Mountains. And this white man said, oh, these are the most beautiful people I've seen in the world. I'm going to name my race Caucasian, because they're from the Caucasus Mountains. They weren't even Caucasian people. But he wanted the arrogance of the European caused him to name the European people Caucasian. And they weren't even Caucasian people. They were Arabs. Caucasians came from Arabs. That's their cousins. We are many moons before the Caucasian man.
Which is interesting because
So I hate to hear that argument. Oh, white people came from black people. No, my man. No.
White people came from black people.
White people came from the people that 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 came from the people of Africans. It's not a black-white. There will never be another people that will derive from the European. That's just mathematics.
What we're trying to categorize.
And this is not a racial conversation.
No,
I am not trying to be racially divided.
You said you had a lot to say.
You know, this is just facts and history.
And we have to understand it when we're talking about intimacy and our connection with one another.
Well, because the thing that we did, we allowed the European.
European.
Listen, you have to bring the slave element into this whole situation when we're talking about America, because we're not the only. America is not the only place that black people exist.
Well, when we're talking
The slave ship didn't just stop in America.
my grandmother was one generation from slavery. What I find, what we learn in relationships, I got this. Okay. I think that what we learned in relationships was from our previous generation. They were taught that you have to be married when you have a child. You know, it doesn't matter if you're in love with the guy that impregnated you. So what I find is there is a history of dysfunctional relationships we go into these relationships with no knowledge, but because you have a child, it commits you to that person. So we think that it's okay to be in a loveless marriage because we got 20 years and it goes on and on and on. But how do we break it? Because what I tell my son is you don't have to marry someone because you got them pregnant, because they might not be the person for you. But be a good father to your seed. You know, if you go into a relationship because that person is pregnant, it's not going to be a great relationship. I think that to have a great relationship, you have to have some kind of connection. The child isn't enough. You understand? And so we're taught as women to stick it out with your man no matter what. When he, wait a minute, it's what we've seen. A lot of us haven't seen healthy relationships. What we saw is people that stayed together because that's what they were told to do. So in my case, it's like I don't feel like I have to stay in a relationship because I have the time in. I don't feel like I have to stay in a relationship because I have children. Because what I'm showing my child is that as long as you have longevity, it's okay to be unhappy. I'm not going to put that energy out there. I think that, you know, previous generations were taught that from maybe their slave masters. You know, you take whatever you can because that's a good man. If that man decides to go out and have multiple affairs, he's a good man. But I think that's the biggest bullshit ever. You know what I'm saying? Should my mental stability be challenged by his infidelity? You know, do I have to stay because he's the provider?
Well, then you have to
Hell
ask
no.
yourself, what's the essence of his infidelity?
No, but you couldn't back then.
You couldn't leave.
You couldn't leave because you didn't have
Exactly.
you didn't have any power. You didn't have any power of society. You don't.
why
You can't
is
go on
that?
your own. Let me tell you something. My wife is Ethiopian, right? And one of the coolest things is she can go back generations and know who she's related to.
Yeah.
But she's one generation, first generation living in America, right? I'm from Trinidad, right? So her kind of dating outside of her culture 25 years ago when we met was we were trailblazers. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And no one really expected us to still kind of be together. But she's her own person, and she was brave enough to follow her heart because she was almost arranged. They were picking people for her, you know, because that was a society. Now, some of the things she tells me, like back in back home, a woman, in order to divorce a man, she would have to go through all these legal processes and all these things in order to, which makes it impossible
Oh yeah.
for a man to divorce a woman. All he has to do is say it 3 times with a witness.
Yeah.
I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you, and it's done.
But that's the same in the Arab culture.
Right.
Yeah.
And but that's the thing. What I mean is, women, I think more so, women stayed in those relationships because they didn't have enough power, in a sense. They didn't have that legal, you know. So now it's a little different. It's a little different because now
Yeah.
we have the knowledge, we have Twitter, we have Facebook.
But in
You know,
America,
but you're more
yeah.
empowered now.
Right. In America, if a woman left her husband and she has 4 children, who's going to? She will have a hard time financially to support herself because that man was the breadwinner. I mean, I'm talking 20, maybe 30 years ago. Not now,
Because she was the housewife.
she was the housewife. Exactly.
Emotions too.
Exactly. Yeah, you're
That's the
right.
weakness part. My mama told me that a long time ago. Because I don't need that mic. A long time ago because I'm a triplet, but I could never understand. My mom is 78 years old.
Okay.
And I always ask my mom. My father died in '89, and I always ask my mom. I always said, Mom, how did you accept my stepbrothers and stepsisters? You know, because when she found out that my father had other children,
Okay.
on his deathbed, he
explained to her, the children I have with you, I know that they're fine. I just need you to do one thing. I need you to go and look after those other two. My mother was like, no way in the world I would ever do that. You know, but she did.
And I was
one
gonna
day,
say, yeah.
one day I came home and the other woman was laid on our couch. Now listen, she was sick. And I said, Mom, you have Miss Catherine here? And she said, you know, all I can say is, you know, that was my husband. And I have to let it be what it is. And that's what she said. She said, I loved him. And she never divorced him. And that taught me a whole lot. That, you know, like mothers and fathers make mistakes. No, really.
And you're right.
People make
right.
And I didn't, because, you know, I taught myself that in relationships, you know, you mess up once, I'm out of there. But then one day when I had this adult conversation with my mom, and I'm like, how did you do it? And when she said, baby, in life, you're going to understand that people make mistakes.
That's true.
And that was my husband, and I loved my husband. And on his deathbed, he had the other woman to call my mother. My mother came to the hospital, you know, and I'm saying to myself, like, this is so deep, but when I look at marriages now, and I'm like, we don't have that anymore.
We don't have
As soon as
that.
you mess up, we're out of there. But we are human. I'm human. I make mistakes. We make mistakes.
Yeah,
So, you know.
I relate to that because my dad, I always said my dad was a serial cheater.
Yeah.
But
I want to speak on
but
this.
here's the reality of it. I think that when he would meet these women and he met good women, when they would get so pissed off with him, you know who they would call? My mom. And my mom would be like, you want them, you got them. You know what I'm saying? What you want me to do? You're calling me about the man you saw while we were married. But now, what I will say, one woman he saw that she was really, I remember when they separated and he went to stay with this woman. We went to stay with them in order to help us have a smooth transition with the separation. She was a great woman. What I will tell you about that is 1 year later, he cheated with somebody else. And she called my mom, but her and my mom ended up becoming the best of friends. The reason being, because my mom knew that she loved us. And see, I was epileptic, so any new information that came out regarding that, she made sure I had the best medication, everything. That's where they bonded. But it's a different time because I think the day and age that we live in, if that same scenario was to happen to me, I'm not sure I would be as forgiving because I'm petty as hell.
But that's
You know what I'm
things
saying?
have
And I own
things
that.
have changed. It's not
I
the
own
same.
that.
And that's
You know
why
what I'm saying?
the generations after us, they have no help.
Yeah.
So listen.
You have options, exactly. I know you've been dying to talk. Yeah, let's get it going. I love it. I love it.
Because I think that's probably the biggest problem amongst African Americans and the subject matter that y'all talking about is monogamy. And you have to understand the concept of monogamy and where it came from. Historically, the Germans invented that.
Okay.
The Germans invented the concept of monogamy.
I just want to see his
Let's talk
library.
about
Like,
let's talk about
Let me say this. I'm gonna let you get into it, but I am loving the conversation.
He has
First of all,
some good
I
knowledge.
feel like I'm learning so much
I read a lot.
from you, and I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. So go ahead.
He's going to Danielle Steele right here.
Okay.
So he be like this.
We're gonna wait a minute. We're gonna exchange numbers after the show because I am loving you.
Because listen, a lot of these questions and the things that we're talking about, I wanted to know, like, is this an emotional conversation or is this a conversation based on facts? Now, when we talk about monogamy and cheating and all of this stuff, the Germans invented this concept of
I never
monogamy.
knew.
In the 30s, in the 40s,
Not all right.
African people,
Said monogamy was not around.
Listen, the kid Kanye West spoke on it briefly in a song when he said relationships are cursed by monogamy.
Hey, baby.
Don't fuck
What's
nobody
up, babe?
without my
What's going
permission.
on? Don't knock my shit down.
In other words,
Now you done turned it. You gotta turn it around. So
monogamy is
Okay.
not of us.
come give me a hug.
It was never of us. And I know black ladies, women, this is gonna hurt a little bit, but it's not natural
Oh,
for
my
a black
bad.
man
Oh, no.
to
I know you not.
indulge himself.
What you say?
know what he can race.
Wait a minute. I missed it. Miss Coy distracted
love.
It is
What I'm
love.
saying is,
Say that again, baby.
King
what,
Solomon did have
what I'm
something.
saying
Okay, he
is
sure
that
did.
monogamy, the concept of one man, one woman, the faithful, that is not an African concept. That is a European concept. And that is why the African American relationship today fails 80% of the time.
Now, are you
Listen
saying
to
that
me.
because
Listen to me.
Wait a
Listen
minute.
to me. Let's speak
Africans
facts
married,
and
they had
stats.
multiple wives. Is that why you're
It's
saying that?
normal.
Right, it's normal.
It's normal.
Yeah.
82% of our women today in America are single.
So let me ask a question.
That's because of welfare.
No, let me say this
Black man
because
out the household so they can collect the welfare.
let me say this. I really have a question, and I'm
ain't gonna
serious
get out of
about this
that.
question because I've always said I
I'll be right
wanted
back.
more than one husband, but society frowns on that because I think that
There are
sometimes
African societies that
that's,
never
it's
found that.
unnatural because it's a male-driven society. But I can be very comfortable with multiple husbands,
European-driven
but
society.
men cannot handle that concept because no man wants to think of another man digging up in his
You know
woman.
my motto is
Because it's not natural.
It's not natural because men say it's not natural.
Yeah, what's good
Listen.
for you is what's good
It's
for
a
me.
male-dominated
You are only-
society.
You gotta
But
realize
I
back
would
then,
like
they
to
had wars, they
have
had a shortage
another
of men
husband,
anyway.
You're
a younger
believing in
one.
He was already
You know,
Listen.
if I'm talking about
Our
it, I
biggest-
prefer it be a younger one because he has more stamina than the older one. If we're going to talk about it,
One
I
of
mean,
our
but that's
biggest
just me.
problems is
Don't
that
fucking
we
judge
are-
me.
Hold my beer.
We,
Hold my beer.
and I say we,
Now we speaking
as
French.
African Americans
Give me 2 minutes.
are so susceptible to indulging in other cultures' ideologies
I
and
agree.
belief systems.
I agree.
And
I
that's
have a
a
question.
fact.
I have a question for you because I've always had
Question, I love
debates about this.
Okay.
To me, I feel like the worst thing we could have done was integrated.
I agree with
That's
you.
my belief.
I agree.
I think that some behaviors that we exhibit, we would never exhibit if it wasn't for integration.
I agree with you.
And I have many debates
I agree.
about this. Yeah.
I agree.
Because people say I'm coming across as I'm racist.
But see, Martin Luther King didn't intend for his message to mean let's integrate, meaning let's be white, let's be a part of this society.
Right.
All he said
Let's get
was
along.
we deserve to have the same access to the same
Exactly.
things everyone
Exactly.
else have.
You gotta.
It was never about we want to be drinking from your water fountains and drinking from
Right.
that was
right. I
it was
think that hurt
misconstrued.
us. I think that hurt our culture. Because,
But what hurt us
See, what the
more
missionaries
is when
gave us
black
a
women bought into
which
feminism.
was the mission.
We don't want to talk about that.
The missionary gave
We
us
don't want to talk about that.
Going in time out.
The biggest thing that hurt the black
Going in
community,
time out.
the biggest thing that hurt the black community is when black women bought into the feminine
Women's
movement.
lib. And how
Women's
many times
liberation.
have I said that? I said we had no
Absolutely.
idea
And you
what
know
that
what white women
movement
did to
was
y'all?
about.
They turned
used
y'all back
us.
on you. They turned their backs
Exactly.
on y'all.
But even to take it a step further, we had no idea what the movement was about.
Clueless.
And not only did we have no idea on what the movement was about, they used us to further our agenda.
Okay.
And what we didn't understand was that man was still our king. We wanted our independence. But then we turned that negative energy onto our men to make him feel like he wasn't worth a damn. You know, we
Black
forgot.
men never
And
treated
men, the thing, okay, we fucked up. And that's the truth. But the thing is, men didn't know how to handle that independence because of the energy that we projected towards that man. You know, I think a lot of times what happens is when there are certain movements, we as black people don't do enough research to understand how that affects us. And that's the thing. We want to go along. We want to go along for the ride.
Just like the
But
riot.
we have to do our own research. We have become a society of lazy people. With all this information at our fingertips, We are too goddamn lazy to do our research.
Accept everything that someone tells you.
Exactly. And I feel like women's lib hurt us. It set us back so many years. Men feel like, like we go out there and make our money, and then we have the audacity to belittle our kings. You understand what I'm saying? We go out there and we feel like, oh, a man can't do shit for me. But when you laying in bed at night alone.
And look, I'll say it like this, and I'll leave you with this.
You ain't going
You
nowhere.
can always judge the strength of a community or strength of a people by the behavior of their women.
Absolutely. Because we got cocky with the movement and we didn't understand.
Our women today are horrible.
We are.
Despicable.
I know you ain't standing back there from the amen corner.
Trust
What
me.
you got to say?
And I know it hurts a little bit.
No, it don't hurt. It doesn't.
But it's the truth.
We want you to talk. We want
It's
you
the
to talk.
truth.
But
Yeah.
there are some, because my mother.
Not everybody though. I don't want to.
What's the first
There's
thing
only
I
one
said?
I don't wanna
conversation.
generalize.
There's only
And
one
we-
conversation.
that's the
Look,
first
let's
thing
get
I
the
said.
everybody conversation off the table. There's only one
What's that?
subject that you can say everybody, and that we all will die. So it's kind of common sense that when we speak in
yeah.
general,
Gotcha.
we're not talking about everybody.
We're not talking about
Only
everybody.
in death
Yeah.
we can talk about everybody because
Yeah.
we all will die.
Absolutely. I think that.
So I'm saying the majority of our women has created the environment, the circumstances, and the atmosphere
Absolutely.
that we live in as African Americans.
As much
today.
as I hate it,
It
I
hurts.
have to agree with you
And that's the sad
100%.
part. And that is
That
the sad
is the
part.
sad part. And I think the problem is we don't see it. I see it all the time. You have a lot of powerful black women that are single, and they don't understand that they are the reason that they are single.
Absolutely.
You can't make that man feel less than. That's our king.
That's why I never dated a single woman.
Oh God. You got something to say, baby? Really? He got a lot to say back here, so I'm gonna pass the microphone. Can I have your name? What is it? Larry. Larry got a lot to say.
If you see
Well, we were talking about love. Are you capable of receiving the type of love that you're looking for? And what do you think? Because since he brought up the women's lib, do you think that it hurt us as black women? How do you think it affected black men? Larry got the mic. Okay.
You get the mic, man.
Let me turn this to Larry so we can see Larry.
No, you don't need to see me. We good.
Okay, all right,
We
Larry.
got corporate jobs, man.
Larry, come on, give us what you give us your
This is
shit.
my opinion. I'm just sharing a little opinion. I heard y'all agreed on certain issues.
Yeah.
But I will say what hurt our community, it goes back to the essence of back then when the government said, I'll offer you social assistance. But in order to get social assistance, the man has to be absent from the home.
Yeah.
So listen. Women accepted money over the family.
Yeah.
And that divided us.
And that was women.
And the reason why they did that, one of the reasons why they even instituted dividing the family like that is so that they could attack both sides. So now it's not just about white men attacking black men. They're also after our children now because there's no protector in the house to make sure that we good. So you have to consider what's more important. Do you want your family or do you want that check every 30 days?
But now
And some people see that as a means of their survival. And to your second question, what's your second question? Do you think you can receive love?
My second question was, are you capable of giving the love that you seek?
Are you capable of giving the love that you seek?
Yes.
So
I know it, dude. I know it, dude.
So real talk.
But we're going to talk about that.
So real talk about that. The question then resides into the question about love resides into each individual, and it starts with this. God operates from an agricultural posture. You reap what you sow.
Of course.
So what are you willing to put in is what you're going to get out.
I like that, Larry.
Right? So if you ain't putting nothing in, you ain't gonna get it out. They say you want more love, you gotta give more love. You want more money, you gotta give more money.
Yeah.
You want respect, you gotta give it, and that's just how it goes.
But Larry,
But you can give it. Yeah, most people see that in today's society, not maybe in certain generations, but in today's society, to some of the points that y'all was making, it's a give me and I want it now type of.
Instant gratification.
instant gratification.
Right. So people like to cook in the microwave, but the best food comes from out the oven.
Exactly.
Take a little bit of time to cook it. So if you
Great
don't-
point, Larry.
If you don't want it the long way and you're trying to get it the short way, then you gonna get, guess what? Food from the microwave cool off a little bit quicker and it get a little bit more tougher.
Yeah.
Like if you put some bread in the microwave, it's gonna get hard. But if you put it in the oven, it might toast up a little bit, but you can still deal
You
with
can
it.
still, but let me ask a question. Let me put this question out there.
Let me check this out.
If you don't love yourself, what kind of love are you capable of
You
giving?
have to love yourself.
Exactly. Exactly.
And another person cannot make you happy. They add to your happiness.
But I think a lot of times people are going into these relationships looking to be fixed. And it's not going to
Bring all your
happen
broken pieces.
because that's from within.
We
You
talk
know what
about
I'm
a word
saying?
called love that doesn't
Come
have
on,
a
man.
definition.
I know you got some. I know you got some shit.
That word.
Come on, Larry.
Can I say one
Let
more?
Larry talk.
All right, so the other part of love is
Like
unconditional. All
love.
right, so listen again. So what I'm talking about is unconditional.
Yeah.
One of the truest ways to love somebody is if you've ever mothered or fathered children, you build in provision that they're gonna let you down. Right? If I say don't touch the stove because you're gonna get burnt,
Right.
they touch it anyway, but I never stop loving you, even though I told you not to do it.
And that's it.
And so hold on. So if you're in a relationship,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
guess what? So now here's the other thing. So we in a relationship, those principles don't change. I have to build in provision. They're not supposed to, but here's the thing. I don't have to accept your behavior, right? Neither do I have to condone it. So I still may love you, but I may not condone what you do.
Exactly.
So that's the principle of unconditional.
Unconditional love.
So can you, so to go back to what you said, can you receive the type of love that you that you're seeking? It cannot be on conditions. I can't love you when you up and not fool with you like that.
But I think that's what a lot of us are going into relationships with. Not it's conditional. Thank you so
Let's
much,
talk about
Laurie,
this
for your
word.
time. I think that I'm gonna let you have it. I'm gonna let you have it. But I think that a lot of times we're going into relationships with false pretense.
Yeah.
We have our own definition of what love should be, but if you haven't been shown love and you haven't given love on a certain level and you don't have love of yourself, you have no knowledge of love.
Yeah.
You know, so going back to what Larry said, if somebody fucked up in a sense, you can't say, oh, I don't love you anymore. You know what I'm saying? You have to have a strong understanding of love. Okay, Larry.
Right, so one of the things that's written in biblical sense, it says love is patient, love is kind.
It's kind, yeah.
It's the other part that we forget, because this word is built into this phrase. It says it holds no records of rights and wrongs.
Exactly.
So now listen, if it holds no records of rights and wrongs, that means you have to forgive.
Exactly.
And that makes
But
a
we
lot of
miss that,
sense.
A lot
Larry.
of people
We
are
miss
not
it.
willing
That-
to
Yeah,
forgive.
because
That
we
makes-
have we don't have unconditional love. We have
Listen.
conditional love. Conditional.
Here's the condition.
Yeah.
Will I forgive you or will you forgive me? And forgiveness falls in this sense. It doesn't mean that I'll forget. It just means that if me and you arguing about apples and oranges,
Right.
I can't be like, man, you slept with that girl three weeks
Right,
ago.
right.
That's not forgiveness.
And,
Right.
and listen.
And then when I forgive you, and then I let it be known, I'm called crazy.
No, you're not.
No, I'm
No,
not.
you're
general.
called crazy by society.
by accepting it. You know?
Exactly.
And that's the sad part about it all.
Exactly.
You know, but the unconditional is
what it is.
Yeah.
But if I'm built on unconditional, and it's so sad, but then my neighbor hear me say, "Oh, you gonna go back with him, or how could you do that?" But I'm built on that unconditional,
But
and then I'm called. Oh,
But then you gotta listen to the source. If the source have never had a successful relationship, of course they're gonna say that because
But
they're
that's what our
jealous
society
of what
is
you're
built
going
on.
back
Absolutely.
to. Exactly.
And that's the same thing that your mom
Yeah,
did.
let Larry give us one more. Larry, you keep having these one more.
Larry said, was this his last day?
Okay,
So
okay.
listen, when
Come
we
on,
talk,
Larry, let's get it.
so when you talk about love, right? The first thing that goes along with the first principle of love is honesty, right?
Absolutely.
That's the first principle. Because when you're honest, you become transparent,
Yeah.
right? Because I can see you for who you are. So once I see you for who you are, then I can say to myself whether or not I accept you or I reject you. If I determine that I accept you, then and only then can I truly love you.
But Larry, let me just put this out there. We're gonna let you talk, but here's the thing.
Larry, I love you.
People are not going into
brother.
these relationships transparent.
That's the honesty.
That's, but they're not going into those relationships
nobody
like
trying
that,
to know
Larry.
who they are.
Exactly. Hey, Will, Wesley, right? Wesley. I don't get no hug.
We're not talking about organs. I love you. I love you for that. But listen, when we talk about words like love, that
You know, I knew you had some stuff
we
to
talk
say,
about
so
love
I
and
can't
being
wait.
romantic and all these other what I consider
But he gonna
colorful
give
words.
us the factual information.
Because you
where
know,
love come from, Woody?
this conversation
That's
starts
his
in
name, Woody.
2017.
Because I done asked him like
But I
5
like to
times
talk
and he ain't
about-
want to give me his name and stuff.
I like to talk
Come
about
on, Woody, babe.
the essence of this stuff.
Let's talk about the essence.
Because you would never even know that word if there was no introduction of Roman culture. You would never know the word love and romantic and
Lord,
Valentine's
Woody.
and Cupid. That is not of us. And one of the biggest problems that face the African American community in America, as well as abroad, is Christianity.
I want to talk about
It's
that. Woody.
Christianity. That's one. Do you know 90% of all black churches in America, the occupants are black women?
Of course.
Why is that?
Because we are seeking love. And I feel like, and I don't want to insult anyone, but I feel like the church preys on that. Now, let me say this. The church encourages black women to stay in an unhealthy relationship for the sake of the Bible. You understand what I'm saying? And what we want, the church wants us to consistently contribute based on that false pretense and the unhealthy relationship that we're in. I think if the church had our best interests at heart and they see that we're getting fucked up every day by this man that we're married to, that they would encourage us to leave.
Because
But-
that man you're getting fucked up by
Is
was raised by a single
contributing.
black woman.
But does that justify his actions? Because
Well, who do we blame?
we blame, I think it goes back to the parents and what they're not giving.
Because there's no law in the books that says you have to have that child. So why would you have a child by a man who doesn't want it?
Well, I think, and I'm going to talk about
And
my
if
own.
you
Let me
choose
say
to
this.
do
Let me
it,
talk about my
isn't
own
it your
case.
responsibility? You can't blame the person that's not there.
Let me say this about my own, and I'm being transparent. For
I want to
me,
be transparent.
I was an angry woman. You understand what I'm saying? When I found out I was pregnant, I felt all of a sudden like a surge of love. I had this child that I was about to have that was going to need me. I had a sense of need. I was such an angry person. When I had that child, a lot of that anger kind of went away because I had nothing but love for this male child. That was my first lesson in unconditional love. I would walk through fire for this child. So anything else at that point didn't matter to me. And even though I knew at that point that his father at that time wasn't worth a damn, this was my
Still
baby.
chose to have
This
the child.
was my baby.
So you don't hold him accountable for anything, right?
I didn't in the
Is he on
beginning, and
child
let me
support?
tell you why. Because
Is he
see, my
on child
child is
support?
29 years old now.
Was he on child support?
He
Did you ever
was
put him
on child support,
Okay.
and I had to make him realize that we created this life together.
So why would you
that
do
my
that?
child didn't ask to be bought into this world.
But his mom had every option not to have him.
I had every option, and let me tell you the obstacles I went through with this child. I'm an epileptic.
It's never the man's
You know,
responsibility.
I am, and I'm gonna get back to that, to you on that.
Never.
I am an epileptic, right? So I had to be on medicine. When the doctors told me there was a 5% chance that my son would have a birth defect, I said, fuck that, I'm getting off the medicine. So for 7.5 months, I wasn't on medicine. Went into labor, had multiple seizures. They kept saying, both of you, you know, it would be a miracle if you both made it. I was willing to risk my life for that child. That's when I understood unconditional love. And after we both came through it, you know what I told that motherfucker? I don't care what you do. This is my child. You understand?
But you put him on child support.
You can choose to be in his life. The only reason I put him on child support is because he was making money and he didn't want to contribute. And he said, wait a minute. When I told him I was pregnant, I said, I could abort this baby, but I'm not going to. Whether you're in his life or not, I'm going to have this child because this is what I wanted. So, wait a minute. If I'm going to have this child, you know the risk, for one. Number two, you are going to be held accountable for this child. Do you want this child? You know what his answer was?
What?
Yes, I want this child.
Okay.
So you are entitled to pay because yes, you wanted this. You never said, here's money for an abortion. And perhaps I wouldn't have entertained it because I needed that child.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you add a floor.
So this goes back to this ideology that most black women have in America. Which is you want to hold a man accountable for a child he doesn't want.
But he said, yes, he
so
wanted
he said
to
he
have
wants the
this
child, but he can't what?
He can't. He
What-
said,
what in
wait
your
a minute,
mind
let me
says-
say this. He said he couldn't afford it, but with the money he was making and living at home, you goddamn right he could afford it.
So it was your individual conscious decision to put this man in the
This
system.
is my
You know who
body.
the biggest snitches are in the black community? The black woman.
Yeah, but why couldn't he protect himself?
Well, wait a minute. Because there's no law in America at this moment that says
So it's
you
just a woman's
have.
fault.
We're not talking about fault. We're talking about opportunity. There's no
No,
law.
you ain't with it with this.
There's no law in America.
Wrap it up if you
That
want.
what says that the black man has to be
There's
responsible
no
for his
law.
child.
Listen.
He's fucking raw. You
Here
take
we
the
go.
responsibility every time
This
you
is
fuck raw.
this is where black women deflect.
Is that deflecting?
There's no
It's the
law.
reality.
Yes, you're deflecting
Wow.
because there's no law.
You're fucking wrong.
Then why
with
would
the
you put him on child
possibility-
support?
You're
Why would
fucking
you put him on
wrong
child
with
support?
the possibility of getting somebody impregnated.
why would
True
you-
or false? I just need you to answer that question.
I'm sorry, what was the
True
question?
or false?
What's the question?
You're fucking wrong with the possibility of conceiving a child. True or false?
You take no responsibility.
I'm
for
not
that.
saying that. I take full responsibility. But when you fuck raw, you're taking responsibility for a possibility conceiving. Am I not
But
right?
at the end of the day, it's
No,
your
no.
responsibility
Answer the
to do
question,
what
Woody.
you.
Answer
Listen,
the
let me
question.
tell you. I'll say
When
it.
you-
I'll say
okay.
it. Check it out. Let me answer the question. If you get pregnant, there's nothing I can do legally to make you have the child or abort the child.
But did you not fuck raw?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And guess who allowed me to?
It doesn't matter
Oh,
who
it doesn't-
allowed you to.
so you take no
because we both
responsibility.
I took full responsibility.
So you allowed me to
but
stick
we're
my
both
dick in you raw
responsible
with the risk of
you don't want to wear a
STDs.
condom
And you allowed it.
and you don't want to wear a condom.
allowed it.
So you take the risk if that
and so
woman
did
gets
you.
pregnant.
And
so
so did
yes,
you.
if she gets
And
pregnant,
so
then
did
we
you.
are 50-50 responsible.
Correct.
Woody.
So
you
we're
gotta
50-50.
be realistic with
No,
this.
no, 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 no,
Are you,
no, 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 no,
yeah, come on, man. You're
You
killing me here. You're
allowed
killing
me as
but
a man.
But as a man, you have responsibility for your own
and
actions because you don't know what I had.
Oh, so you put the responsibility back on the man.
Woody, you're fucking me raw.
Correct.
You don't
And
know
who
what
allowed
I
me to
had.
fuck you raw?
I did. But
Exactly.
Woody, you
So
don't-
it's your
You're
responsibility.
not taking responsibility for
Yes, I
fucking
am.
me raw.
Then why didn't you
don't know what
protect
I had.
yourself?
All you
Why
know is
didn't
that
you?
I look good.
Why didn't you
and you
protect
don't want to
yourself?
wear a condom
Why didn't you
because
protect yourself?
you don't like
Why
how
did
a
you
condom
allow me to
feels,
have sex
Woody.
with you
Come on,
unprotected?
man.
Why didn't you allow me?
Woody, why is the responsibility just on me? Is what I'm asking.
What I'm saying is we have to share in the responsibility. Why did you allow me? Why did you allow me
Time out.
to have sex with you unprotected? Why? So you take no responsibility.
I said we're both responsible.
Correct.
I
So if you
allowed
get pregnant,
wait a minute. I allowed you to fuck
yes you
me.
did. Yes you did. Irresponsible.
You,
Yes.
You looked at me and
Yep.
said, I look
Bop,
good.
wop, wop,
I
wop.
don't want to wear a
Boom.
condom.
Yep.
I'm going to fuck you
Woo.
raw.
Wop,
So
wop.
it's a 50-50 responsibility.
Absolutely. But guess what?
You don't know what I have,
But
Woody.
exactly.
You
And
don't know
you don't know what I have.
But at the same time, if I get pregnant,
Correct.
it's a 50-50
No, it's not.
responsibility.
No, it's not.
Wait a minute.
No, it's not.
Because we both
Bullshit.
chose. We both
That's
chose
bullshit.
to fuck raw. You're wrong. We both chose to fuck raw.
Bullshit. Because you know why? You know why it's bullshit? Because
bullshit?
regardless of what I say, regardless of what I say, or what I believe,
if you know
I
that
can't
you're,
make
wait a
you
minute.
have that
If
child,
you
and
know
I can't make
that
you
are
abort the
still
child.
Producing, you're able
If the
to
decision to
produce,
have it
it's
is
one thing,
50-50,
wait a minute.
then
It's
I'll
one
take
thing-
on 50-50
it's
of the
one thing
responsibility.
If you are sterile, if you are sterile,
the decision
that's a
to have
different
the
thing.
child
But you
is
are
not
still
50-50.
You're a motherfucking lie. If you know that
I don't
you are
have
not
a choice.
if you're not sterile and you choose to fuck me raw, you have to you own
That's your
it.
irresponsible
50
ass
both of
to allow
our
me to stick this
irresponsible
motherfucking
ass.
alligator tail
Woody, you're
in you
responsible
raw.
for helping
That's
me
your fault.
take care of this
That's
child.
your
Because you
responsibility
made a
as
conscious
well.
decision
And so
to
did
fuck
you.
me
And so
raw.
did you.
I'm just saying,
And so did you.
Woody,
So you don't
gotta
have your
recognize this
wait a
shit.
minute.
We
So
made
black
a
women are
conscious
smart
decision
and intelligent.
to fuck raw.
So black
You
women
understand?
are smart.
You understand?
So black women
Learn.
listen to me.
Learn.
So black
Come on
women are
now.
smart,
Learn.
intelligent, self-sufficient,
I'm just saying.
and independent. But you're gonna allow me to bust off in you irresponsibly. You're not protecting
I allowed you,
Yeah.
and you allowed yourself
Absolutely.
to bust off in
But
me
my
because
question
you didn't like
is-
how the condom felt.
So here we
Right,
go.
you didn't like how the condom felt,
question now
so
is-
we are both responsible for the life.
Listen. No, let her speak. Let her speak.
Y'all both fuck.
Let her speak.
Thank you.
Let her finish that.
You made a conscious decision to fuck me raw.
Right.
And so
And
what
you
that
allowed it.
means,
You
I
allowed it.
allowed it. Now, if you were sterile, that's different.
Okay.
But you knew you were capable
So we're
of
50-50.
producing. You are capable of producing a child.
50-50.
So we are both responsible.
Then why aren't we 50-50? Wait a minute. So why aren't we 50? By your logic, why aren't we 50-50 in the decision for you to have it?
Because we made a conscious
Oh,
decision
we. Here we go,
to
we.
fuck raw.
Correctly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Correct.
And if I'm pregnant,
Yes.
and you wait a minute, you took responsibility
Because it's not
to
your
fuck
body.
me raw.
Yes.
Say that
And you
again.
allowed me to
Because it's not
fuck you
It's
wrong.
not your body.
You
It
allow-
is not your body.
He's a
Okay,
simp.
this is
He's a simp.
give me
He's a simp.
30 seconds. Give me
I
a simp.
decided
All
to
right.
have a baby.
Then
me
it should be
30.
50-50 if we have the child. Then it should be 50-50.
Can I get 30 seconds? What I'm hearing here,
It's not our
what
decision.
I'm hearing here.
Our
It's your decision.
When we decided to fuck raw, it's our decision.
So since you were being as irresponsible as I was,
It's a 50.
you get pregnant.
I get pregnant.
Where's
and
the
I decide
50-50
to
decision
have
for
a baby.
us to have the
No.
You the one
question?
that did it.
You
It's
must
a
have
juvenile
not raw.
conversation.
Oh, so I'm the
white man
Wait a minute. So I'm the responsible adult here.
You'll take your ass to
But
child
you didn't have to
support.
allow me to fuck you raw.
And you didn't have to
So you
fuck me
have-
raw.
see,
you didn't have to fuck
So
me
you
raw.
have no responsibility in
No,
this
I'm not
situation.
saying that. I said I take
Correct.
responsibility because I allowed
Yes.
You allowed
to
it.
Yes.
come up in
Absolutely.
me
Yes.
raw.
Absolutely.
But understand
And you could have
something.
protected
Correct.
yourself as well.
And you could have protected
Non-Knox
yourself.
L9.
And you just
You
could've
could
pulled
have
out
protected
pill,
yourself,
the
but you
pill.
wanted that raw ass
Pull out and
nut.
let it
And you allowed
Let's
it.
say that.
So
you
with the
wanted that
decision,
raw ass
so
nut.
if it's 50-50 at that point, then why isn't it 50-50 on the decision.
You should have
if you
pulled
have
out
that
and found
child.
out how nasty
If
she
I
really
had
is.
that child,
That's your soul.
Because wait a minute,
decision.
understand something. You chose to fuck me
And
wrong.
so did you.
You're
You
missing
allowed
that.
it.
You chose
allowed
to
it.
fuck me wrong.
Oh,
That means your pullout game was whack.
so you
That
allowed it.
means your pullout game was
She
whack.
allowed it.
Going raw don't mean
You allowed me to go raw on you
send
and to
this-
impregnate you, but you wanted to be a 50-50 decision?
Exactly.
Are you kidding me?
Pullout game
You suffer the
was
consequences. You suffer the consequences.
whack. Your pullout game is
That's all on you,
whack.
homeboy. If
Your
you
pullout game is whack.
So you
It's a big song.
Whoa.
Your responsibility game is worse.
Hold on. Listen.
Your pullout game is
Last I
whack.
checked, last I
Your
checked,
pullout game
last I
is
checked,
whack.
last I
Your
checked,
pullout game
there's no
is
law,
whack.
Hey,
there's no
Your
law on the
pullout
books
game is whack.
that a man has to be on
Is
child support.
everybody on child support right now?
30
Yes, I am. I am.
Then that's why I think
It's not a personal decision because listen,
Get a man in 30 seconds. Get a man in 30 seconds.
Hold on, bro.
Get a man in 30
Johnny come lately.
seconds.
Be easy.
Get a man in 30
Listen,
seconds.
you can-
Get a
listen,
man his 30
listen,
seconds.
listen.
The man asked for 30
There's
seconds.
not a law. There's not a law on the
Good Lord,
books.
Lord.
There's not a
30
law
seconds, man.
on the books that says you have to take me downtown for child support or you have to keep me on child support.
Now I agree with you there.
got a point there.
If we can work something out without me taking you to child support, I'd be open to that.
But most men don't.
30 seconds.
Most men don't do that. You're saying to me, what it seems like you're saying is it's all your responsibility because you let me fuck you wrong.
It is your responsibility. You said it's your body.
It's your responsibility.
So you would tell me
too, Woody,
you allowed
because
me.
you fucked me wrong.
So you allowed it.
And we don't have to
So you
go to
have no
child support if
responsibility
we
in
can
that?
work it out. I'm not saying that.
She got
I'm
responsibility for the life of that damn kid,
I
man.
have
Nobody
been taking that
put
child
on
for
that
18 years.
Correct.
Because I don't believe in aborting a life. However, you agreed to fuck me wrong.
And you agreed to let me fuck you wrong.
Exactly. So I might
So
not
we
take
sharing that
Wait,
responsibility.
I agree with you.
So let's share in the decision
I'm
to have the
totally
child.
in agreement with that. No.
Oh, so we can't share in
This is
the.
my body. You can't tell me that I can't have this goddamn child. It's my damn body, Woody.
But do you get the right to rape him of all his money? Not all his money, but
Is this on? Is this on?
You can tell me what
Is
he can
this-
afford to pay for.
Oh.
And even if, and I would work with that. And that's the thing. Here's what I disagree with. I disagree with, let me talk about this. Here's what I disagree with. I disagree with women taking men downtown for the sake of getting a check so they can get their hair and nails done because that shit has nothing to do with the child. If the man
Take his
decides,
ass
wait a minute,
downtown.
if the man
He fucked
decides
up.
I'm gonna buy everything that the man needs, there's no need for him to go
Take his ass
downtown.
downtown. He
No,
fucked
I'm
up.
in disagreement with that
He
because
blew
I
it.
know that a lot of women
You blew it,
take,
nigga.
I know a
It's just
lot of
one
women
night.
take men downtown for the sake of getting a check,
You
and
did
they're
it.
not
See
even
yourself.
spending the money on the
Now
child.
you want to be mad and shit.
no.
You wasn't mad when you was like,
When he bust
yeah,
that
boy,
nut, exactly.
Tonight I'm getting it in.
Exactly.
Listen, man. Listen, man. Take responsibility for the nuts you bust.
Why you
How
can't
is
hold
that
him
yours?
Why you can't hold him
Take responsibility for the nuts you bust. Take responsibility.
Y'all crashing the interview, man. This is a serious.
Whoa.
They interviewing me.
Go ahead, Woody.
no,
Not
it ain't
you.
about you, Wood.
Not you.
gonna be like,
Not you.
It ain't about you, huh?
Hold up. One more point.
What about
Yo, you
him?
get
One
to
more
run
point.
this interview.
And he
yo.
makes sense. But I was invited to this
Here you
shit.
go. Here you go.
Okay, we all was.
Okay. No, you wasn't.
That's where we at.
Here we go. Listen.
Come where I'm at.
Listen.
Right.
Listen.
You don't get to run this
Hold on.
show.
One more point, and I'm gonna get up and leave. I'm gonna get up and leave. I'm gonna leave after this.
You don't get to run this.
I just wanted to
Turn
go
my
back.
mic up. 1, 2,
I
1,
want
2.
us to
I need
go
some
back. I
music
want us
in
to
my
go back to
headphones.
where we was because we taking this. No, really, all jokes aside, this is a very, very sensitive subject, and let me explain something. A lot of our men today, for real, when they get on child support in their mind mentally, they're ruined. You got men today don't want to work. No, really, don't want to work anymore because of child support. So they go out here and they hustle on the corner, and they rather not be a role model for their child. Child support has ruined so many people. So let's be serious about this. Come on, we didn't have fun. It's getting ready to rain. So Woody, I want you to go ahead and go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No, don't
Let him go ahead.
Wait a minute.
No, I'm not.
Hey, look, listen. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something real. I'm gonna say something.
Go ahead.
Hey, listen. Hey, what's it?
You want to listen?
We gotta
fucked
do this
up.
again, man. I'm telling you, we're here every
Somebody
fourth
cut it off.
Monday. Every fourth. Y'all
Somebody
come
cut it
to
off.
the
Somebody cut it off. Somebody cut it off.
Man, you
it
fucked
ends-
up,
you have
man.
a podcast that ends at a certain time.
It's the government.
that's
You
what's
fucked
up.
up. The government in this. all
You
this
fucked
shit.
up.
I'm still on
It's the
Facebook.
government in all this shit.
You
So
fucked
go
up.
to the black family.
You fucked up. You got a muscle in your body to hold that shit. You let it go.
Hey, the woman can't select none of that shit unless the black man not in the house.
To keep them on child support.
No, that's real.
Irresponsible.
Well, we should have
Just
been
heard
over
that
here.
shit today.
We should have been over
And it was a
here.
woman saying that.
We should have been over
It was a
here.
woman saying it. She says when the farmers need help, they don't tell your white husband to get out the house.
Whether you have the
They give
child,
them subsidized shit for the farmers. But when we need subsidized shit in the city, you can't have a man in your house.
Cannot. Nigga, that go back to Claudine.
Right. So if you can't have the black man in your house, it turns the black man into the enemy of the black man.
Okay, then.
So let's both consent to having a child. That's both. I'm using your own
I
argument.
said, Woody, if I said, come on, I want to have a
I'm
baby.
using your own argument
And
against
then
said I
they
wanna
say,
have a
no,
baby.
you don't need a man. A black woman get a great
I
pay, get a good
said, I want to
job,
keep this baby.
do for herself.
Not
You don't
gonna
need no
take
man.
right, child.
And now all of a
I
sudden,
don't want you to. I
get the
want to
fuck
keep
out
you.
of here.
And
And
don't
then
wanna
I don't
take
need
the
you. I
child
got all
away.
this shit.
Can you
And
help
now
me?
I can get child support from you.
That's a
You gotta live with your
Yeah,
motherfucking
can you
mama
help?
probably because you can't
I
afford
think
to
that
pay
that's
child
fair,
support.
Woody, because we both
And
consented to that.
you know, your
I
kids
won't
don't
take
want
the
to be
child
taken
support
care
as
of
long as
because
you
the
are
money comes to
helping
me.
me.
So why?
And I do what I love to do. And then she can say whatever she asking for,
Between you and I,
and I can't afford to do it. I'm giving you all my money.
child
If you
support is
stop
nothing but
communicating, hold up, if you
Child
stop
support is
communicating
tell the kids
with me.
that. But at the same
Wait,
time,
let me just say
mama,
this.
I don't like that shit. Because I've done dealt with
I
women.
agree
you
with
put me in the system.
God damn it, Woody. I agree
But if
with
I was
you. As
a
long as we're
old
working
fighter,
together,
she would make me
it wouldn't be no
surrender.
need for me to be in the system. If you say, listen, Jay, I'm fucked up right now. I can't help you at this time. I appreciate the honesty. So there will be no need for you to go in the system. If you say, give me a couple of months, and then I'll be able to help you again. We can work it out. I think that women that do that
Stay with them right now. He
bring their
moved them.
own
He 26.
agenda.
Women
It's
have
not
babies.
about it's not about the child.
Why you need me when you got your white daddy to take care of you?
Well, I think
You don't need me. When
at
you
the
go to the
same
government,
time,
you don't
really,
give
I
everything you
think
want.
that the system itself
It's set up
has
for you to
made
win and for
some-
me to lose.
No, I think women lose too, and they don't realize
All
how
right, let
much
me ask you an honest
they
question. What happens to a woman who has a child that she can't afford? What does she get?
welfare for the same.
What happens to a man that has a child that he can't afford? What does he get?
His license suspended.
Thank you.
It's not the end of discussion because first of all, it comes down
think that's
to
fair?
wait a minute, Woody. He only gets his license suspended when he's no longer paid.
He's in this system. Black women put more black men in the system than white women.
Let me ask you a question.
Black women kill more black
These
women, black
women
men turn
that you
here
are
than white
fucking
police
raw,
officers.
you have to see
Y'all have these
certain
emotional
things
ass
in these women that you're right. Everything is by emotion. You're absolutely right. But Woody, there are certain signs that these women display before you fuck them raw. True or false? You saw the pettiness and some of these. Come on, Woody, come on, man. If you want to talk real fast, let's talk real fast. I'm not saying that, Woody. What I'm saying, yes, I'm totally responsible. It's not your fault. But the women that you meet, Woody, they show you who they are straight up. True or false? And you decide to still go to the next level with them regardless as to who they show you they are. So you shouldn't be surprised when they put you in the system because they showed you who they were from the beginning. Right, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying sometimes men get blinded by the pussy. You understand what I'm saying? And they act like they were raised by the pussy. However, it doesn't justify. Let me tell you something. I just told my son this. I said, women wear their feelings in their goddamn pussy. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't listen. You can't tell a broad that we just friends. I'm gonna stay with you for a little bit, but we just friends, and you fucking the shit out of them, and they cooking for you because eventually she's thinking I can fuck the shit out of him, and eventually he will want to be in a relationship. Man, act like y'all don't see it. You know why y'all don't see it? Because y'all get entwined in the pussy.
That's what men don't see.
Do you see it, Woody?
I see it. That was raised by my father.
You know what I'm saying?
The men that don't see it was raised by sister.
And they're looking for that
They have the same man.
Embrace my side is always vicious.
Goddamn reason. Emotional. That's why y'all want murder and shit. Emotional.
They're
They're
emotional,
feminine.
exactly.
They're over the drip because they act just like the women that raised them.
However, if they had a strong woman that raised
Ain't no
them.
such thing as a strong
No,
woman.
listen, let me tell you
Name
something.
me one construction company that was
My
by
son
women.
is
Name me one
29
house.
years
Name me
old.
one
Woody,
skyscraper.
listen to what I'm
Tell me
saying.
something that a woman did.
My son is 29
You know what I'm
years
saying?
old.
Yes, man.
I talk to him
And I reached out when he came and he see me like,
relationship. You know why I did that? Let me tell you, it's not my job.
I was hoping
He's my child.
Exactly.
So it becomes dead.
So you guys were together while he was